We have 2 sections left in Chapter 3, and both the sections are on money. And generically, when we study money in math, we usually call it the mathematics of finance. And this section is on loans, like specifically probably car and home loans. And then in section 3.6, we'll do like kind of retirement savings. Mathematics of finance really is a pretty complicated field, and the math involved in answering loan type questions. What's my car payment going to be? How much quicker will I get my house paid off if I increase my home payment $50 a month? Those kinds of problems are pretty complicated to do without some sort of technology. Most of those types of questions involve using really, really unpleasant looking formulas. And I don't have many of these formulas memorized. We're not going to have to use any of these formulas to answer the questions that we do, the money questions that we do in Chapter 3. This is the big time that we're going to use our either TI-83 or TI-84 calculator, because all the horribly messy formulas that you need to use, that would need to be used to solve money type problems by hand, are pre-programmed into our calculator. So we just have to perfect using the pre-programmed portion of our TI-83 and TI-84 calculator to answer the money questions. And specifically, most of the problems that we're going to do in this section, let me go back to my main screen, are going to be under the finance screen for our calculator. So real quickly, pull your calculator out and we'll get to the screen that we're going to use to solve a lot of the money problems that we're going to do. So once you have your calculator out, if you hit the apps button, the very top choice is finance, and that's where we're going to do our money questions. I'm going to hit enter on finance, and within the finance submenus, the most common submenu that we're going to choose is Tvm Solver. We're going to use a couple other things, but that's going to be the most common choice that we use here when we solve money problems. TVM, T means time, the V stands for value, and I guess there's a value, there's an implied of, and the M means money. So I'm real quickly, now that I have this TVM solver up, I'm going to hit enter, and a screen's going to come up that's going to have an N, an I, a PV, a PMT, a FV, a PY, a CY, a PMT on it. My calculator has a bunch of different numbers on it. I was probably solving some problem for our class the last time I used the TVM solver. It doesn't matter which numbers are on your calculator screen right now. We're gonna type over those. When we go to answer questions about, how much would my car payment be if I borrow $25,000 for a car, I'm going to pay it back over 6 years. The letters on the screen here all they mean something in terms of when you're taking a loan out for a house or a car. The N stands for the number of payments, and so if I was doing a 6-year car loan, that's kind of a common term for a car loan, the N wouldn't be 6 years because it would be the number of payments, and you'd be making 12 payments a year for 6 years. An N for a 6-year car loan would be 72 because there's 72 months in 6 years. The I part of this is the interest rate, and I don't know what a typical interest rate might be for your car loan, but let's say something like 4.9 for an interest rate might be a typical number that we type in for the I. The I is the interest rate, and it goes in as a percent, not as a decimal. A lot of times when we're using formulas, if we're given a percent, we need to change the percent to a decimal. Our calculator, when we're given an interest rate, we're going to put it in as an interest rate. The PV stands for the loan amount, and it's normally entered as a positive number. The one thing about using this TVM solver, from time to time, the sign of the dollar amounts is going to become important. And as it's important, I'll mention it. But the PV is usually the loan amount in a loan problem. And let's say I borrowed, $25,000. So if I was borrowing $25,000 to purchase a car, and I'm taking a 6-year loan, and the annual interest rate is 4.9%, the things that I'd start to enter on my calculator to help figure out what the payment is, I would put 72 in for the N for the number of payments, 4.9 in for the annual interest rate, $25,000. PV means present value, but for a loan problem, it means the loan amount. The next amount, let me just type those in real quickly here. So I'm going to put 72 in for the number of payments, 4.9 in for the interest rate, 25,000 for the loan amount. The next amount is going to be the monthly payment. PMT stands for payment. And for a car payment or a house payment, usually we make our payments every month. So it usually stands for a monthly payment. And I don't need to know what my monthly payment is. Once I enter everything on my calculator, it will figure out the monthly payment for me. And when it figures it out, it usually makes the PMT, when it's a loan problem, have a negative amount, because negative values represent money that I have to spend. And when it comes to money problems, positive values for loan problems would be the money that's given to me. And in some sense, when you take a loan, the lender gives you money and then you give it to the bank in some sense, or to the person selling the car. So you're given this $25,000, so it comes as a positive, and you're paying back the monthly payment, and that would go in as a negative. In a little bit, I'll show you how to figure out the car payment, but we need to talk about a few more of the values or the letters that are on this screen. The FV stands for future value, and in a loan problem, the FV is the balance when the loan is paid off. Usually we put a 0 here. If you were leasing a car and there was a residual value, it would go here. But for our car, if I'm trying to figure out if I'm borrowing $25,000 for a 6-year car loan and my interest rate is 4.9%, what my monthly payment would be, the future value I'd want to be 0, because when the loan is terminated, I want my loan to be paid off. So the FV stands for the future value, and for loan problems, it's usually 0 for the future value. The P/Y stands for the number of payments per year, and usually in a loan problem, 12 is the number of payments per year, because you're usually making payments every month, and there's 12 months per year. So let me type that in on this calculator. I'll type 12 in for the PY. And then automatically when I hit enter here, the next figure, the CY, is going to automatically change to 12. My calculator usually assumes that the PY, the number of payments per year, is equal to the CY. And what the CY is how often you're charged interest. And generally on a house loan or a car loan, you only charge interest once per month. So when I hit enter, it says I'm making 12 payments per year, and I'm being charged interest only when I'm, every month, as opposed to being charged interest every day or once a year. So PY, number of payments per year, CY, number of times interest is charged per year. And in a loan problem, the payments per year and the number of times interest is charged per year is generally 12. The last line says payment end begin. Generally, I always leave this on end. And for a loan problem, the end begin has to do with when you're making your payment. If you're making your first payment the day that you take the loan, you would leave the calculator on begin on the bottom here. If you're making your first payment 1 month from when you take the loan, you would leave it on end. And for all practical purposes, you never make a payment the day that you're taking a loan, so we're always going to leave this on end. So real quickly here, I'll just talk about these values again. N in a loan problem, whether it's a car loan or a house loan, is the number of payments. I is the interest rate as a percent, not as a decimal. PV is a loan amount. It goes in as a positive amount. PMT is the amount of the payment. I haven't actually figured out an amount of the payment yet. It generally goes in as a negative amount because it's money that I'm spending. FV is the future value, what you want to owe when the loan is over. And in loan problems, the future value is generally 0. PY is the number of payments you're making per year. Generally, we make monthly payments or 12 payments per year. CY is how often interest is charged, and generally in car loans and house loans, you're charged interest every month. So it's the number of times interest is charged per year. And the PMT has to do with when the first payment is made. If you make the first payment the day that you take the loan, you put the PMT on the begin. If you make your first payment 1 month from when you take the loan, you put the PMT on end. For my fictitious problem, I'm taking a 6-year car loan, which is 72 payments. My interest rate is 4.9%. I'm borrowing $25,000. I want to owe 0 when it's paid off. I'm making 12 payments per year. Interest is charged once per month. I'm making the first payment 1 month from when I make my take my loan. If I want to find the monthly payment, I'd scroll up now to the PMT where I've left the dollar amount that was in there before. I'd scroll up to the PMT, get my cursor flashing on the PMT, and then I do 2 things. I hit the green alpha button, and then I hit the enter button. And for this car loan, the payment would be $401.46. That's kind of the gist of what we're going to be doing in this section. We're going to be figuring out the dollar amounts of car loans, and then we're going to do some other things that are slightly more complicated, but I just wanted to give you a glimpse into the TVM Solver screen for our calculator. So I've kind of done this problem, so let's walk through this again. So let's go through this example, and let me go to my TVM Solver screen, and let me just put 0 next to everything so we don't have any values in here. Apps, finance. It didn't let me change the PY and the CY to 0. It did, because you can't have 0 payments per year, so it gave me a mistake. So I have a generic problem up here. This is a problem that I just solved. A new car is purchased and a $25,000 loan is taken. The loan is taken for 6 years or 72 months. The interest rate is 4.9% compounded monthly. What is the monthly payment? How would I do that? Well, I'd hit my app screen. I'd hit enter on finance. I'd go to the TVM Solver. Now I need to know values for everything except the PMT because I'm going to solve for the PMT. Going in order, the N stands for the number of payments. So in for N, I'm going to type the number 72. Whatever number that's in for N now, you would just type 72, hit enter, and would take that N out. The interest rate's given in the problem, it's 4.9%. So for the I would type 4.9. The PV is the loan amount, and it says a $25,000 loan is taken. It might be a $40,000 car. You might have made a down payment. You might have had a trade-in. Those aren't considered here. This is just the final amount that you're financing after you add in whatever gap insurance or a warranty. $25,000 is a loan amount. That's what I put in as the PV. Generally goes in as a positive amount. The PMT, I'm going to have my calculator compute. It doesn't matter if there was a number in there or if there's a 0 in there. My calculator is going to type over it. The FV is what I want to owe when the car is paid off, so I put 0 for the FV because I want my balance after 72 payments to be 0. The PY is the number of payments per year, and I'm making monthly payments, so I'm making 12 payments per year, so the PY is 12. The calculator will automatically change the CY to 12, and we're always going to assume that interest is charged every time you make a payment. So in this case, interest is going to be charged 12 times per year. And then I'm assuming, even though it doesn't say it specifically in the problem, that my first payment's going to be due 1 month from when I make my loan. Now that I have everything entered but the payment, I scroll up to the PMT, get the cursor flashing on the PMT. It doesn't have to have 0 there. It could have any number there. My calculator's going to ignore what's in that spot. And when I hit the green alpha button followed by the enter, it's going to give me the payment of, and it gives it as a negative that indicates money that I'm spending. When I go to write an answer, I'd probably not carry that negative sign with me. I'd say the payment is $401.46 per month. This being said, if you took this calculator to a car dealership and you were negotiating with the finance company, and the finance company had the same information, it might come back with a payment that's just slightly higher than this. This is because, like, if today was the 20th of a month and they made it, let's say today was March 20th. Well, my guess is your first payment's not going to be due on April 20th. It's probably going to be due on May the 1st. And because your first payment is going to be due not exactly 1 month after you make the loan, but maybe a month and a week after you take the loan, the payment's going to be slightly higher because you're going to incur a little bit of interest over those 10 days that are beyond the 30 days that this computes the payment for. This assumes your payment's exactly 1 month from the day that you take the loan. If your actual payment's like 40 days from when you take the loan, this amount right here will be $1 or $2 off. It's a pretty complicated save to try to figure out how to get that exact payment, and it's not necessarily the most important thing in the world, so we'll kind of ignore that little variation. But if you want to know how to get it exactly, you can come sit with me and I'll show you for a specific loan, because it's going to change for every single loan, determining what the exact payment would be. But this will get you in the ballpark, within $1 or $2 of what the lender would charge you. All right, so let's go through a couple of problems now. So 1 and 2 are our problems. Let's just work on 1 together so that we're doing the same thing, and I'm computing a car payment, and anytime I'm computing a car payment, I'm going to use the Apps Tvm Solver screen. And on that Apps Tvm Solver screen, I'm going to enter values for everything but PMT. And at some point, I'm going to get my cursor blinking on that PMT, and I'm going to tell my calculator to solve for the payment. So if I read through this problem, I might be able to fill up my what goes on my TVM Solver screen pretty quickly. So a new car is purchased and a $20,000 loan is taken. The loan amount, if I'm trying to figure out a payment, goes in as the PV. And because it's money that's given to me to pay that car off, I'm going to put it into the PV. The next thing I see, the loan is for 5 years or 60 months. The 5 years isn't going to go anywhere in my computations. The N is the number of months. I'm going to put a 60 next to the N. And the interest rate is 7.9% compounded monthly. That's going to give me the 7.9 for the I. Technically, the compounded monthly tells you the CY is 12, but I'll get to that in a second. When I read the rest of this, what is the monthly payment? And in for the monthly payment, the monthly part tells me that the PY is 12. I always make the PY and the CY 12. And that's all the information that's directly in the problem. There's a couple things I have to assume. The things that I have to assume is that I want the future value to be 0. That means after 60 months, I want the value of the loan to be 0. It starts off at $20,000. I want it to end at 0. And I'm assuming that the first payment is made 1 month after I take the loan, and I leave the bottom on end. I'll never put the bottom on begin. I'll always leave it on end. Now I'm just going to enter these values. I'm going to go to my TVM Solver. I'm going to put 60 in for the N, 7.9 in for the interest rate, 20,000 for the PV. I'm going to skip over the PMT. I'm going to make sure the FV is 0. I'm going to make sure the PY and the CY is 12. I'm going to make sure the PMT is end. Once I have all those in, I scroll up and I get my cursor flashing on the PMT. Once my cursor is flashing on the PMT, I'm going to hit the green alpha button followed by the enter key. And it's going to change the PMT to the answer to this question once I round to 2 decimals. So now green alpha button followed by enter, round to 2 decimals. The answer to problem 1, the payment's going to be $404.57. Be nice if I actually had the answers around so I could check myself. I do have it here. When we get to the test, on the test, I'm going to want you to give me the numerical payment along with everything you plugged in on your calculator to get that payment, because it's going to help me give you partial credit if you make a mistake. All right, so why don't you try to do number 3 and I'll do number 4. So for number 3, you can pause and not even watch me do this. I'm going to have to enter values for N, I, PV, PMT, FV, PY, CY, and I'll never take my calculator off of N, so I'm just going to leave it there 100% of the time. As I read through problem 4, a used car is purchased and a $10,000 loan is taken. The loan goes in as a positive value under PV. The loan is for 3 years or 36 months. The N is the number of payments, which is 36. The interest rate is 8% compounded monthly. That gives the I at 8%. What is the monthly payment? That makes the number of payments per year 12, which makes the PY 12. And for our class, we'll always leave the PY and the CY the same. My calculator kind of forces that on me anyways. I'm assuming that the FV is 0, that I'm going to owe 0 after 36 months. And then I'm going to hit the green alpha button, followed by the enter key to figure out what the payment is. After I get the payment, having flashing cursor next to it. So for this problem number 4, I'm going to go 36, 8, 10,000. I'm going to leave the payment alone. I have the 0, the 12, the 12, and the end in. I arrow up to the PMT. I hit the green alpha button, followed by the enter, and I round to 2 decimals and get $313.36 for my problem 4. So 313.36. For your problem 3, you're trying to get $351.59, and here's all the values that I typed in to get that. And again, my calculator put this, when I do this on your calculator, it's going to come back as a negative value to just represent that's money that you're spending, but you don't need to carry that negative into your answer. I'll let you do problem 5, and maybe I won't do problem 6. So why don't you pause the video, give problem 5 a go. This is for a home loan as opposed to a car loan. The calculator doesn't care, doesn't know the difference between a car and a home loan. And your problem for a home loan, the $150,000 here is the amount borrowed. That's going to be the PV. This home loan is for 30 years, which is 360 payments. The 360 is going to be the N. The interest rate is 4.5%. That's going to be the I. We're making monthly payments, so the PY is going to be 12. I'm always going to make the CY the same as the PY. And I'm going to make the FV 0. When I put all those values into my calculator, just like this, it's going to give you $760.03 for a monthly payment. If you've ever purchased a home, you probably realize that you pay more than your mortgage with your loan payment. So this right here is for the principal and interest. A lot of times when you make a loan payment, it also includes property taxes and insurance. So if my monthly payment came out to be this, whatever that amount was, I've already lost it, if my monthly payment came out to be the $760.03, that's not what I'd send to the bank every month. My house, I have property taxes of $2,400 a year, and I include those property taxes in with my payment. That's $200 a month gets added to my payment to pay the property taxes for my house. And my homeowner's insurance, just in case my house burns down or I have my water heater floods my house, that's another $50 a month. So just because my calculator tells me my monthly payment's going to be $760.03, I might wind up paying more than that as my monthly payment, specifically because in home loans, you're usually paying additional things with your monthly payment. Your property taxes and your homeowner's insurance are generally paid along with your payment. But this is ignoring that. This is just doing your payment, ignoring taxes and insurance. All right, so into the second part of this. So a new car is purchased for $25,000. That feels like a PV. A loan is taken for 6 years or 72 months. The N is 72. The interest rate is 4.9% compounded monthly. How much will be owed after 2 years? This is assuming I've had this 6-year loan for 2 years. I've made all the payments on time. I haven't made any extra payments. Well, in order to answer what I owe after 2 years, I need to calculate the payment again because that's no longer on my screen. And how did I calculate the payment? I did it real easy. And for the PV gets to be the loan amount. The N gets to be the number of payments. The I gets to be the interest rate. The F is 0 because I want to owe 0 in the future. I'm making monthly payments, so the PY and the CY is 12. I'm making my payment 1 month from the day that I get the loan, so I leave it on end. I cursor up to the PMT and hit alpha and enter. So for this particular loan right here, the payment's $401.46. It's a 72-month loan. The initial balance is $25,000. I'm asked to find what's the balance after 2 years. This is actually pretty easy to do if I don't fall into any traps. And one of the traps is my calculator doesn't deal in years, it deals in months. So asking you what's the balance after 2 years, I could have parenthetically, if I was being nice, said what's the balance after 24 months. Because 6 years is the same as 72 months. 2 years is the same as 24 months. So I'm trying to find the balance after 24 months. In order to find the balance of this loan after 24 months, I have to have this loan just like this in my TVM Solver. Once I have my TVM Solver all loaded up with this monthly payment of $401.46, I hit the second, and then I'll call it the mode quit button to get out of this screen. So I have the payment in for this loan. Now I'm going to hit the second button and then the mode quit key. It takes me back to the main screen. Now I'm going to go back to apps. Back to finance. And I go to finance by hitting enter. But don't hit enter on TVM Solver. That's not where I can figure out my balance. To figure out my balance, after I hit finance, I'm going to have to scroll down and find something that says BAL. And there it is, number 9. Once I see the BAL, I'm going to hit my enter key. So once I have the BAL highlighted in black, I'm going to hit enter, and on my main screen, the calculator comes back with balance and a parentheses. In the parentheses, I need to give the number of months into the loan that I want to find the balance, and it's 24 months here. So I'm just going to go balance. I'm going to type the number 24 in, and I'm going to close the parentheses. And for my calculator, it knows that for the loan that's in the TVM Solver right now, that I want to find the balance after 24 months, which is equal to 2 years. When I hit enter, I get $17,467.12 will be the balance after 2 years. So The loan initially had a balance of $25,000. Assuming you made every payment on time for 2 years, the balance now is $17,467.12. So let's do a couple of these problems. I'll work through 7 with you. So a new car is purchased for $20,000. A new car is purchased and a $20,000 loan is taken. The loan is for 5 years, 60 months, and the interest rate is 7.9%. What is the balance after 3 years? It should parenthetically, if I was being nice, say 36 months, because there's 12 months per year. So in 3 years, 3 times 12 gives me 36 months. So first, to do this problem, I need to figure out the payment. So I need to get the payment, even though the payment's not going to be part of my answer. I have to get the loan in my calculator. So I'm going to go N, I, PV, PMT, FV, PY, CY, and I'm always, for our class, going to leave the calculator on end. The first number I see, the $20,000 loan, that's the PV. I'm going to put in $20,000 for the loan amount, or for the PV. The next 2 numbers I see are the 5 years or 60 months. I'm going to plug in 60 for N. Then I see the 7.9% compounded monthly. I'm going to put 7.9 in for the I. And then I'm going to assume that I'm making monthly payments. And if you're making monthly payments, the PY and the CY need to be 12. And I'm assuming I'm going to owe 0 in the future. This 0, 12, 12 I'm going to have for all the car payment problems. And real quickly, I'm going to hit the green alpha. And then hit enter. So let me get this loaded up on my calculator so I have the payment there. So I hit the apps button. I hit enter on finance. Enter on Tvm Solver. My calculator needs to know the loan that I'm referencing when it wants to calculate the balance. If I don't have the loan in my calculator, it won't give me the balance for that particular loan. So I entered everything here, but I left the payment alone. I cursored up to the payment. Now I hit the green alpha button and hit enter. So the payment for this loan is $404.57. Now that I have this loan into my calculator, I want to find the balance after 36 months. Ultimately, on my calculator, I'm going to get my calculator to do balance 36, and that's going to get me to the answer. Apparently, the answer is going to be $8,954.32. And how do I get that? Super easy to get that. Once you have the loan into the Tvm Solver, you hit the second button and then the mode quit key. So second, mode quit. Then I hit the apps. I hit enter on finance. And I scroll down till I find balance, BAL. Once I have the BAL highlighted, I hit enter. Now I'm going to type the number 36, close the parentheses, and hit enter. I'm going to round to 2 decimals. So for my answer, to number 7, it's going to be $8,954.32. So 9 and 10 are kind of the same, as are 11 and 12. I'll let you pause the video and do 9. And when you go to check your answer for number 9, I came out with $115,574.29. So pause the video, give that a go, and I'm going to walk through problem 11 with you just in case you need some help. So assuming you just got problem 9 done, you can do problem 11 without me. If you do problem 11 and get $99,350.93, then don't watch me do your problem 11. If you didn't get it, watch me do it. So as I go through problem 11, the first thing I'm going to need to do is get this loan in my Tvm Solver. So how do I do that? First number is the amount of money borrowed for this home loan. That's going to be the PV. It's $150,000. Next number I see is the loan is for 30 years or 360 payments. The N's going to be 360. The interest rate is 4.5%. That's going to be my I. And now I'm assuming that I'm making monthly payments. So I'm going to leave the PY and the CY to be 12. I'm assuming I want the balance to be 0 in the future when it's paid off. And then I'm going to hit my green alpha, followed by enter. And that will get the calculator ready to answer the question that's being asked. I have to get the whole loan into my calculator first. To get the loan into my calculator, I hit the apps button. I hit enter on finance. I hit enter on Tvm Solver. I type 360. 4.5. I think I lost a 0 here. That should be 150,000. I made the 0 for the FV, the PY, and the CY 12. I'll leave my bottom on end. Now I'm going to hit the green alpha and then enter. Done with that. After I have the whole payment in my calculator, then I'm going to hit the second in the mode quit button. So second mode quit. Back to the main screen. I have to find the balance after 15 years, and I need to know what 15 years is in terms of months. So I'm going to multiply 15 by 12. I'll pretend I don't know that that's 180. I'll go to my main screen here and do 15 times 12. So I'm asked to find the balance after 180 months as opposed to 15 years. So now on my calculator, to get this $99,350.93, I have to do balance 180. How do I do balance 180? It's not so particularly hard to do. To do balance 180, I hit the apps button. I hit enter on finance. I scroll down to BAL. I hit enter on BAL. I type the number 180. I close the parentheses. It doesn't really need to be closed. And I better see that value right there. That's the value rounded to 2 decimals, so that's perfect. One more kind of skill that we need to do in this section is to figure out how much interest we're going to pay for a car loan. So let's walk through one more example and we'll be close to the end. So a new car is purchased for $25,000 PV. The loan is taken for 6 years or 72 months, and the interest rate is 4.9%, which is the I. Of course, I'm assuming the PY, the CY is 12, and I'm assuming the FV is 0. So what is the monthly payment? Easy to do monthly payments. To do monthly payments, I hit apps, enter on finance. I go to the Tvm Solver. In for the N, I type the 72. In for the I type 4.9. In for the PV, I type 25,000. I have the 0, the 12, and the 12, and the end in. I go to the PMT, I hit the green alpha button and hit enter. We've done this monthly payment, I guess, a few times. The monthly payment for this car is $401.46. The new thing that we have to do is how much interest will be paid over the term of the length of the loan. That's the trickiest thing in this chapter. To do this, I'm going to need my calculator. I'm going to need to find this on my calculator. This means add up or sum. The INT means the interest. And I'm going to need to tell my calculator to add up the interest from the first payment to the last payment. And the first payment is payment number 1. The last payment, because there's 72 payments, is payment number 72. So if I want to answer the question, how much interest will be paid over the term of the loan, on my calculator, I'm going to find the thing that says sum of interest, and it's going to have 2 numbers required after it's separated by a comma. The first number is always going to be 1 because I'm starting adding up the interest with the first payment, and I'm going to end adding up the interest of the 72nd payment. So I've got that payment in here. Once you get a payment in, you hit second and quit. Let me clear out this main screen just to clean it up. Now I need to try to get this on my calculator. Easy enough to do this. To do this, you hit Apps, you hit Finance, and then instead of scrolling down for the BAL, I'm going to scroll down till I find a sum of interest. I'm going to hit Enter on that sum of interest, and then I'm going to say add up the interest starting with the first payment, comma, ending with the last or 72nd payment. And that will tell me, it says the money is negative because it's money I'm spending. I don't need to put that negative sign in my answer. The amount of interest that's going to be paid if I pay every payment on time is going to be $3,905.46. The negative just represents money I'm spending. Is similarly, when I did the payment, it had a negative next to it. Usually I don't include those negatives in my answer. All right, so let me walk through 13 with you and not do 14. So 13, a new car is purchased and the $30,000 loan is taken. The $30,000 is the PV. The loan is taken for 6 years or 72 months. The 72 is the N. The interest rate is 5.9% compounded monthly. The I is 5.9%. What is the monthly payment? So when I go to do part A for 13, on my calculator, I'm going to enter an N to find the monthly payment. I put 72 in for the number of months. I need an I, which is the interest rate, which is 5.9%. I need a PV, which is the loan amount, which is $30,000. The payment, I'm going to hit the green alpha, followed by enter at some point to get that figured out. The FV, I'm going to assume I want to owe 0 at the end of the paying off the car. The PY is going to be 12. The CY is going to be 12, and I always leave my calculator on end. So to get 13A done, I'm going to enter all these on my calculator. So Apps, Finance, Tvm Solver, N is 72, I is 5.9, payment is 30,000. I have the 0, the 12, the 12, and the end in. I get my cursor flashing on the PMT. I hit my green alpha button followed by enter. Ignore the sign. That just means that can't be right. I have an extra 0 here. So it should be 30000. I can't have a $5,000 car payment. So green alpha and enter. My car payment is $495.77. And it's different than I have on my answer, but I feel good about it because I see the mistake on my answer. Part B, how much interest will be charged over the term of the loan? Well, when I'm going to figure out interest, I have to use the sum of interest feature on my calculator, and it's going to be sum of interest starting with the first payment, comma, ending with the last payment, and the last payment is the 72nd payment. So this is what I need to get on my calculator, and it's going to give me an amount that's negative. I'm going to change it to positive when I go to write my answer. So let's try to get this. So I'm going to get second and the quit mode key, and then Apps, Finance. I go down to option A that says sum of interest. I hit enter again. Then I type 1,72, close out my parentheses. I hit enter and I'll round to 2 decimals. The answer to part B is $5,695.56. So why don't you give 15 a go, assuming I have the right answers here, because I have the wrong answer for 13 that I'm not going to show you real quickly here. When you do 15 for part A, you're expecting $304.22. And for part B, you're expecting $951.90. So I won't do number 16. I'll walk through 17 with you. Oh, we have another thing to go. Ugh. I'll walk through 17 with you, and then I don't know to make a part 2 or not, but let's walk through 17 then. So 17, the first thing I need to do is figure out a monthly payment. First thing, $200,000 is borrowed. That's going to be a PV. To purchase a new home, the loan is for 30 years. 360 payments is going to be the N. The interest rate is 4%, which is the I. When I go to do Part A, I'm going to need to put a value in for N, I, PV, PMT, FV, PY, CY, and I always leave the bottom on end. The first value I see is 200,000, that's the PV. The next number I see is 30 years or 360 payments, that's the N. Last number I see is the 4%, which is the I. I'm assuming the future value is 0, and I'm assuming I'm making monthly payments. I'm going to now solve for the PMT. I'm going to get this on my calculator real quickly by going Apps, enter on Finance, enter on Tvm Solver, 360 for the N, 4 for the I, 200,000 for the PV, 0 for the FV, PY and CY are 12, payment is end. Cursor up to the PMT, hit the green alpha button and hit enter. The answer I'm going to write down for Part A is $954.83 is my monthly payment. For Part B, how much interest will be paid over the life of the loan, I have to use the sum of interest, and I'm going to go add up the interest starting with the first payment, ending with the last payment. So I'm going to do sum of interest 1,360 on my calculator real quickly here. So let me get out of this screen, so second and quit, and then Apps, enter on Finance, arrow down to sum of interest, hit enter, type 1,360, enter, enter, and I get, with a positive sign, $143,739.01. That's huge. A $200,000 loan at a good interest rate, you still pay $143,000 of interest. That's kind of the kicker for the home loans. You get a monstrous amount of interest when you're dealing with home loans. All right, I think I'm going to pause and do a part 2 to this video so we don't have monstrously long parts.